tell we've got a fairly knowledgeable, intelligent crew here.
Word.
So, if you don't mind.
Great to meet you.
And you know what we call the epiphany that you're experiencing?
Thanks everyone for showing up.
We call
So
it
I'm going to have this
waking up
mostly
to
be a Q&A session. So I'm just going to go over a few things. This is a group of Liberty people. I'm strongly Liberty oriented, so we're mostly on the same thing. There's differences in perspectives on Liberty. And I'm sure there's some points you want to ask, right? So we'll hit those. But I am the Libertarian nominee for governor here in the state of Georgia, and I hope that at the end of today you decide that you don't want to just vote for me, but you want to reach out to other people and spread the word, because our number one issue is going to be getting enough votes that I make it into the runoff, and that will really rock the vote. So we can talk about a lot of different things, wanting liberties and everything, but until we elect someone with liberty stances and liberty views, that's what we're going to continue to do, is to talk about it. So you all are active people. You came to this meeting, and now I just want to inspire you to take some of that action and focus this year on pushing for the different people that are running for office with strong liberty views. Not just myself, but other people too. So there's a number of them. Ted is running, and you'll hear some questions and comments from Ted Metz. We have Amanda Swafford. But there's also some people in the Republican Party that have more liberty views than others. So look at those two and consider who you want to vote for and who you want to support, because that's how we change things. We have to stop sending the same people into office. If we keep on sending the same people into office, we're going to get the same government. Abstaining from voting does no good at all. There's too many people that sit back and abstain from voting. And we need to educate them that they can't do that any longer, because if they do, they're not getting what they want. They think that if they don't vote, then they're saying, oh, look, I don't want you in office. As long as these people continue to get to office, they don't care if 5% only show up at the polls and vote. Every year it's declining more and more and more, the people that are voting. And what do we get? Even worse and worse government. Our liberty erosion is going further and further all the time. It's time to step up to the plate and change that. I will be a strong constitutionalist. I will stand for our liberties. I will work towards reducing the laws. So a lot of attorneys are voted into office, about 50%, even though they represent like 1% or less of our population. And what's their badge of honor? They talk about the laws that they created. Every law is another infraction of liberty. It reduces our rights. And so what we need is law erasers and not law makers. Okay? That's what we need. I will be a law eraser. The laws that I pass will all of a sudden wipe out multiple other laws. Just abolishment laws. That's what we need. That's the type of laws and regulations we need to have passed. Restore our liberties to us, get the government out of our lives, reduce our taxes, get rid of special interest groups in particular. So people talk about deals ethics issues, okay? The things that they're talking about are tens of thousands of dollars of infractions. There's billions of dollars of infractions here in the state of Georgia on special interest deals. They're legal because they're written into the budget, they're written into laws, and they're supposedly open bidding for contracts and everything. It's not. And we need to end that. It's a waste of taxpayer dollars. You have projects being made that aren't really needed, and we need to focus on what's really needed, and that's effective for the people. An area of grave importance, though, that we need to do a better job in, though, is education. So if we have well-educated people, then we have a smart voting base to attack things. So we must educate well. We have some school districts that graduate 50% or less, others 60% or less. But there's ways of correcting that. You know, some people try and say, well, it's the people that live in that area. No, that's wrong. I'll give you a great example. Atlanta public school system graduates less than 60% of the people. Inside there, there's the KIPP schools. It's a charter school. They had to take an abandoned school out of the school system. They get a little less money per student than the other public schools. But they graduate 93% and 85% acceptance into college. but that's a private entity versus a government-run business. We need more free enterprise. We need less crony capitalism. We need cost-effective governments that serves the people and not special interest groups and large corporations that are bought into the system. There's some respectable large businesses, but there's other ones that aren't. And there's some medium-sized ones that aren't also. What we need is a system that rewards every company that employs people, or individuals that employ people, in every town, in every neighborhood, no matter how small, medium, or large it is. And so that's what I call my job powerhouse program, where you look at the employment penalty taxes, the taxes that are put onto a company because they hired someone, not because they made a profit, not because they sold a product, not because they're storing something, not because they have property. There's so many different ways of taxing. The one I want to take off first, it'll just be the start, because we need to get rid of a lot of taxes. But I want to spur job growth. That increases our economy, provides quality jobs, which reduces crime and increases family stability. There's nothing better than to have quality jobs for people. And in particular, ones that don't require any social programs to help someone out. So I run this program for jobs paying $11 an hour or more in full-time basis. Companies that are here in the state of Georgia and have employees in the state of Georgia would be wonderful. And I would cut out companies that have monopolies. So any company that's granted a legal monopoly wouldn't participate because they already have an unfair advantage. They don't need this in addition. What's a good example of that? Georgia Power. Okay? They have set rates and structures and everything like that. We don't need to give the money to them. They're not competing in the free enterprise system. This is a free enterprise program. So companies that openly compete in the free enterprise would get to work on this program. So what happens is they get the federal, most of this money is federal dollars. They get that federal dollars reimbursed by the state to the company. And what we look at is this program will cost about $3 to $4 billion to implement. The Georgia budget is a little over $40 billion. Who here thinks I can't find 10% waste that we can recapture this money on? No one. In fact, the bulk of the population believe there's at least 30% waste in government. Over a majority, when polled, believe there's 30% or more waste in government. So to cover this program, all I have to do is eliminate 10% of the waste in government, and we'll have it. So it can be covered and covered quickly, and that's what I plan to do. So freedom and fairness, we need to have fair, open plans, we need to look after people, we need to give people a hand up. That way we save handouts. Let people get good education. Let them have transformation back out of crimes and the prison system so they can be functional in our society and feel good about life. And then we save a lot on social programs and social welfares. We want to get rid of a lot of those programs altogether. We want in the near term. We need to transition out of those. We need to decrease the number of people that need those programs. Let's care about everyone and run government correctly, run it smaller, run it effectively, and show them these transitional steps to liberty. Our clock tick down of getting to real full liberty is 20, maybe 30 years. But that clock doesn't start ticking till we put in the first leaders that will really establish a liberty-based system. When I go in, I'm not going to be able to restore all the liberties immediately. I'm going to be able to hit a small fraction in a 4-year term, but I'll drive in that direction, and I will send the message, and people will see the rewards out of those programs and how they work well. And then we'll have a system that goes well. And then we'll have more people elected in with liberty interest. Okay? So that's my spiel, and I look forward to a fabulous discussion with you.
Absolutely, got my vote.
I have a question.
Begin.
Let's see. Oh man, I forgot that one.
I'm Andrew Hunt, and I approve this message.
I'm we the people, and let's bring it back to us.
Anything about state rights?
Oh, I believe strongly in the 10th Amendment. I believe that's, like so many other parts of our Constitution, they just tread all over it and just not honor it at all. I'll work towards that. One of the things, if you look at the 10th Amendment, the state has to claim its right. So I would work on first doing that. Not that we'll get any respect from the federal government for having done it, so we still have an uphill battle after that, but at least we'll take the initial step of passing rules and regulations saying, we, the state of Georgia, claim our rights over education. We, the state of Georgia, claim our rights over health care, and go on down the list. And so that we are at least then invoking the right to establish the 10th Amendment as something we can be privy of. But they're not going to give up that easy. We know that. But we need to step in that direction.
Just like the state of Georgia, you know, even the ones that graduate should never graduate.
Large percentage, yeah.
Yeah, part of the seniors should never graduate.
Well, it's much better that we have those people graduating than dropping out, okay? I'd much rather have someone graduate and get a certain amount of education than dropping out and having even less, okay? But we need to raise that bar, and the kids' school does that because you not only look at the graduation rate, you look at the college acceptance rate of 85%. That means they're educated. Colleges want them.
And may I say, Mr. Hunt, also, the redemption rate, how many students return to school and actually graduate, that's just as important, right?
Yeah.
How many go back and they keep going and they actually complete their education?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's an excellent point. And we need these schools everywhere. It's so important. You know, we're one people, we're one state, and we have so many great talents and capabilities. It's sad to waste a single one of those, and we shouldn't. Because we can so much better if we do.
Are you going to launch any initiatives to make learning and having knowledge cool?
I'll try.
Because that really seems to be what happens in school. It's like nobody cares about learning. They have
One of my
no desire
favorites-
to learn in
yeah.
the first place.
We have to instill a love for learning, and that can be done early on. And actually, my parents founded the very first Montessori school in the state of Georgia. So education, and that what they work on is a love of learning. From 3 years old, they start instilling this love for learning, the curiosity, the reward for learning things, the capabilities of doing things yourself and accomplishing tasks. And not just a little task, but the whole thing. I have to take it out, I have to work on it, I have to put it back up again. So you have the full cycle of learning from a young age. And you instill that in them, and then they can do it later on in life. People don't do half-finished projects. They complete things. And that's what we need.
How do you feel about the policy of mandatory education? Do you think it's still a good thing to be forcing kids who don't want to be in school to be in school?
Well, first of all, it's not working because they're dropping out anyways.
Right.
Okay? So what you need to do is you need to have a system that they want to complete.
Right.
That's instilling enough, that's invigorating, that's what they want to do, and they understand the benefit of doing it. And that's what you have to do to get them to graduate anyways. So having the law of it doesn't really matter.
The law, what it does do, its only effect is that when a kid is clearly they're maybe not finishing school, or they're not going to school because of a family issue, and now you have government initiating force against that family, making it worse.
Yeah.
Melissa Harris Perry said that your children don't belong to you anyway.
So, I think, remote learning is great, and we have that capabilities now, so some of these people might be able to go into remote learning programs. And then you can have something that's called an educational savings account. This is something that's new and being done in Arizona, and hopefully it'll spread other places. Here in Georgia, if I'm here. So it's something where you can take the federal portion that's supposed to come back to us along with some of the state funding, and you offer a program where everyone that has a child, that child has an educational savings account that grows with them. Okay? It can be applied into public schools, it can be applied into tutoring, into other help, the special ed needs that they might have, so it could supplement something. It can also, if they're very effective with things, it can be saved up for college. If they don't spend it all, you can save the money up for college, so you have less college debt. But it's only a fraction of the total public school cost. So say a public school costs $13,000, okay? Maybe $4,000 be available to all the students in this account, which actually is enough to fully cover remote learning. And then you have entities that have empty facilities during the weekdays that might just sponsor education in their facilities. So a lot of businesses aren't that way, but you can think of churches and other organizations that have just weekend activities. They could sponsor remote learning centers inside their facilities. And completely covered with that kind of money. Because you don't have the teachers, and they have the best teachers on these remote learning things. And they'll actually have proctors around to help call in with the specific questions that the other people can't answer. So it's a very invigorating system.
I remember seeing something, and I can't remember who it was, but it was some guy who's a teacher who has an entire curriculum posted
Sailor.
on YouTube.
Well, there's Sailor University also.
Is that what it is? Well, I don't think that's what it is. I think it's just a guy who, I think he
Oh,
teaches math. He teaches math, and he's got an entire curriculum of math, and this is grade school math, on YouTube.
Oh, Microsoft has sponsored these things. There's lots of these
Well, this
around.
is just a guy who's done it on his own.
Right.
And he's
I know.
also
I
got a
mean, there's
huge
lots
website.
of
I know what
options
you're talking
out there
about.
for
I can't
this.
think of his
Yeah. But kids can learn on YouTube. It doesn't cost anything. Private enterprise has already put that together. It's there. It costs the government or we the people nothing.
Yeah. And for homeschooling or these remote learning centers and everything, you can't sometimes get the quality of education into a very small, tiny little town someplace.
Yeah.
It offers all these different curricula.
Yeah.
The Khan Academy.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the one.
Yeah. I mean, the name was last name.
Yeah, and any kid who's seen those videos loves them. He understands, helps them to
Do they?
understand math.
Yeah, my girlfriend's son was having trouble with math, and I did as much as I could, and then I turned him on to Khan Academy, and it's like, now he's doing fine in math.
Yeah.
Because it made it fun.
Hold on. Your child wasn't listening to their father? It can be good to have someone else teaching your kids, there's no doubt about it. Have a different special relationship with your child. Yeah.
Another subject, we get so much money that leaves the state that goes to Washington. They dole it back out.
With all sorts of conditions and terms and everything.
And I'm going two different places here at the same time. Number one, if we kept our own money here within the state, because Washington produces nothing. I mean, a government produces,
Politicians, they're leading experts.
yeah, but a government body produces nothing. It does nothing except take. What?
And overregulate.
Right.
Just
What
cost
are the
things.
chances of starting to keep Georgia's money within the state and not send it out to be doled out to wherever somebody else thinks it is best spent, and going off in the same direction, but at the same different direction? For one, that in a way that's thumbing your nose at DC. The other thing is I'm looking at, it is not for the marijuana issue, but Colorado and Washington have both says, we don't care what you say, we're going to do this. What are the ramifications of because basically both of those, keeping your money and doing whatever the state thinks is better for itself, those are both coming in the same, right down the same rails.
Yep.
How do we start to work to that?
Well, once again, you would first start by invoking your 10th Amendment rights to these programs that they're taking the money under. So Obama, care has a specific tax on certain things.
Right.
Okay? They also have some general funds, but they have specific taxes allocated to it, okay? Well, maybe you can say, okay, we're not going to allow these taxes to be left. See what happens. See what thought, how much they fight back on that. If all of a sudden, everyone in the state of Georgia, when they file their taxes, have to send that money instead to the state. The state could reduce other taxes and use some of it for that purposes, maybe.
I think one of the biggest issues is federal income tax. Personal federal income tax.
Yeah, that's a long-term battle.
It's a long-term battle, but it's a big one.
But we need to start fighting and working on that battle.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
The country got away.
State income tax, the number one tax I want to go after, of course, is employment penalty taxes. And then we would go after probably income taxes. You have to fight the property taxes wrong too. You know, there's a lot of taxes that are wrong, and you have to look at it and decide which helps the economy the most, and you whittle them down over time as you unwind the government that's been built up. If you try and pull it apart too fast, it's going to collapse.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have an inefficient. So I'm saying it's a 20 or 30-year system, but we've got to elect the first person in so we start that process.
Oh, yeah.